Angry Guy here, and today we're discussing why women are failing at life as men avoid them. Women are failing at life as men avoid them. Let's just go ahead and jump right into the video.
No, y'all, can we talk about it? Can we please talk about it? Let's take a moment to discuss. Let's take a moment to debrief. Let's take a moment to unpack. So I'm not really understanding why they not telling y'all. Like, we all know that the world is behind, like, globally, like, because of the pandemic and stuff. But I don't understand why they not stressing to y'all how bad it is. Like, I'm not even trying to be funny, but these kids are... I'm going to just say this. I teach 7th grade. They are still performing on the 4th grade level. I don't care how you flip it, turn it, swing it, swindle it. They still performing on the 4th grade level. Ain't nobody talking about how they just keep moving, passing them on. They just keep passing them on, 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 passing them on. I can put as many zeros in this grade book as I want to. They're gonna move that child to the 8th grade next year. But ain't nobody talking about that. Why they not talking about that? Why they not telling y'all that y'all... And why don't y'all know that y'all kids not performing on their grade level? Why y'all don't know this? Why y'all don't know? Talk about it. Let's unpack. Because y'all be quick to talk about, oh, the teacher this, the teacher this, the teacher. It's your job, baby. I just got here 30 days ago. She was performing on the 4th grade level since 4th grade. Why we not talk? Well, let's talk about it. You the teacher. You supposed to be, again, she's been on the 4th grade level since the 4th grade. We in 7th grade now. So you let this child go 3 years and you never knew that your child was still in the 4th grade, ain't never left the... Hang it up, flat screen. And 4th graders being nice. I still have kids performing on grade K, 1, 2, and 3rd grade levels. I could probably count on one hand how many kids are actually performing on their grade level. So just imagine, you don't know that your child been on the 2nd grade level since the 2nd grade, and they now in the 7th or 8th grade? Are you joking right now? And these are future leaders, our future doctors, our future nurses, our future... Please, please.
Guys, I've been warning y'all about Gen Z for ages now. I've been sounding the alarms that something is wrong with Gen Z. Nobody wants to listen. Nobody wants to listen. And it's so amazing because I have a lot of baby boomers who say, oh, everything's going to be okay. They said this about, other generations and they turned out just fine. Bro, Gen X could read and write. Gen X could read and write. I don't know what y'all are talking about. All right? Gen X can do math. This is beyond ridiculous. Beyond ridiculous. I am just infuriated. And it just keeps going and going and going. I told y'all, something is very, very wrong with Gen Z. Nobody wants to listen. This man said the ones who are doing well are performing on a 4th grade level in 7th grade. All right? He has some that are performing on a K level, kindergarten. 2nd grade, kindergarten. He has kids that are performing on kindergarten level. Kindergarten, y'all? This means that they can't, guys, remember what I said? Gen Z can't read or write? Gen Z has the lowest reading scores in 20 years and the lowest math scores in 30 years. It's going to be a very, very difficult world out there. And then when you look at what's happening right now, with young people in Western society, it's unbelievable. Guys, women today, a lot of it is because of how they've been treated in society. Their egos have been inflated. Guys, Yiannopoulos, Milo, if you recall, Milo said this years ago. He called it the exodus of sorts, and he basically said that the guys are going to be okay, but it's going to be the women who are the ones that are going to be at a loss in the coming decade. All right? Because he said that as men are walking away from society and withdrawing from society, women who don't have the skills necessary to survive are going to be at extraordinary risk within society. Because men have always served as a safety net for women. A lot of these young women who are going through these programs, that they're going to enter into the real world eventually. Okay, they're going to find very hard times waiting for them. Many of them are not fit for college. Many of them are not barely fit for the workforce. And when government subsidies run out, when they can't find a simp to subsidize them, it's going to be hard. Guys, listen to me. It feels like simps are in endless supply sometimes. But from every group of simps, not, how many can actually provide for a woman? Many can't. You have a lot of these dudes living in their mom's basement. All right? They don't work, or if they do, it's nothing special. A lot of these dudes are collecting Social Security. I need to just let y'all know what's up, because a lot of them have been written off as like, the government's basically said, yeah, y'all aren't gonna make it in this world, and they're collecting a check every month, which is, in my opinion, disgusting. But it is what it is. They don't tell you that a lot of them are collecting checks. A lot of them are getting checks. And the thing is that, for men don't need a lot to survive. A lot of young women today, though, they don't have a lot of options. They don't have a lot of prospects, and having to go, turn to some, hoping that some simp is going to come and rescue them. That is not a good prospect. I'm just telling y'all right now, hoping that, okay, well, there's going to be a guy to come and bail me out, because those days are quickly coming to an end. Sure, they have a ton of guys in their DMs, but how many of those guys are actually quality men? When you have women now that are literally teaching other women to use platforms, dating platforms, to find investors or find men from whom they can extract wealth and resources or use for networking. Basically, they have no interest in dating this guy whatsoever, but because of the information that they see on his profile, they're like, okay, so I can use this guy to get what I want. I have, to get the job that I want, or to get to the person that I want to. It's bad. And as more men catch on to this, more guys are like, they're looking at women as being completely insincere. And now they're saying, yeah, I'm done. I'm completely done. Guys, when you're in a situation where most women don't like 95% of the men in their society, 95%, they don't find 95% of the men in their society as attractive. And the thing is that you look overseas and you say, well, what are the men like overseas? And the men overseas are not even in the same ballpark as the guys that they don't like. Then what you have to realize is that modern women have disqualified over 99% of men on earth. Modern women have disqualified. Modern women find less than 99% of men on earth as unattractive. As attractive. Modern women find less than 99% of men on earth as attractive. They find over 99% of men on earth as unattractive. 99%. Over 99% when you do the math. Because men in Western society are the tallest. They're the most, they are the wealthiest, so they make the most amount of money in the entire world. Believe it or not, in countries like the United States, they work the longest hours. And it just keeps on racking up. And none of these things are good enough. These women can't go overseas and find themselves a guy that outperforms a guy back in their countries. Because you go to you go to a country like like in Southeast Asia or South America, Caribbean, the men in these countries cannot hold a candle to the guys in from Western countries. The guys from Western countries tend to be taller. They're more fluent. They have a much higher education level. They are more financially stable. The list just goes on and on. They're more educated. It's just so many things. They're also more family orientated. Let me put it this way. For example, you go over to the Philippines, and while people in the Philippines are family orientated, you have to understand that a lot of the guys in the Philippines don't commit, and it's like that in westerns. It's like that in a lot of developing countries. It's not even in Africa. A lot of guys will just pick up and leave, versus foreigners that have been conditioned to stay in monogamous relationships. A lot of guys in foreign countries, in East and Southeast Asia, and South America, and even the Caribbean. I mean, I know you guys have heard about Jamaican guys, like they're not monogamous. Monogamy by name only. And when with women in these countries, when they meet a foreigner, and foreigners have a good reputation, that the men are willing to commit and actually stay in a relationship. So you have to understand, and then you look at the income level. A lot of these guys make $3,000 a year in these countries. $3,000 a year. The average man makes around $54,000 a year in the United States. All right. The average person in the Philippines makes like right around maybe $3,000 to $3,000 to like $3,600 a year in the Philippines. And that's what it is in a lot of other countries outside of the United States. A lot of developing countries. Developing does not mean third world, just to make that very clear also. So when you factor those things into consideration and you look at those from a critical lens, most women don't like 99% of men on the planet. Over 99% of men on the planet. Because you have to eliminate men from developing countries. You have to eliminate over 99% of men from developing countries. Most countries in the world are not fully developed. Most countries are developing. Okay? Africa, the countries in Africa, virtually all countries in Africa are developing. Okay? Many countries in Europe, they're either developing or they're third world. Africa, developing or third world. South America, developing or third world. Caribbean, developing or third world. Okay? The number of developed countries, right, that have a sustainable GDP, and the people are thriving and prospering, and that are comparable to countries like the United States, they're not that many of them. You can basically list them off pretty easily. All right? Everybody knows what these countries are. The United States, Australia, Canada. All right? And Canada really needs to get their stuff together. All right? Canada, and then you have, of course, other places like Ireland. And again, you'd be surprised that some of these westernized countries are still, they're considered developed countries, but they're not even, but they're not necessarily thriving. They may be developed, but they're not necessarily thriving. And when you take that into consideration, when you factor these things in, you realize, you can clearly see it, that most women do not like modern women, all right? Women predominantly from Western countries do not like 99%, over 99% of men on the planet. So when you consider these factors, you then realize that there's nothing wrong with the men, and it's the expectations and demands of the women, and the fact that these women can no longer pair bond. They can no longer pair bond, and their expectations have now reached a proportion where they've priced themselves. Not only have they priced themselves out of the marketplace, but they've also put themselves in a position where they no longer have the practical skills to provide and take care of themselves. Back in the day, if you didn't have a guy, it was going to be very hard for you to survive. Today, modern women today have significantly fewer skills than women did in the past. They can't cook, they can't clean, they can't sew. Cooking, cleaning, and sewing are very big things. Being able to modify clothes and repair clothing. When times get tough and you need clothing, being able to sew is a very, very serious thing. Okay? Modern women don't have those skills. Being able to cook. Women cannot cook for themselves. They basically, I've shown you these videos of women what they eating what they call peasant meals. They literally name it like medieval peasant because they're eating things like and grapes and cheese and bread because they cannot cook. They do not know how to cook and they will not cook because they consider cooking a form of oppression. They will not cook for themselves. They view cooking entirely as oppression, cleaning as oppression, which is frightening because you cannot take care of yourself as a functional human being. Okay, I don't want to cook for a guy. I don't want to clean for a guy. Okay, so what about cooking and cleaning for yourself? Those are things that are parts of the patriarchy. Cooking and cleaning are patriarchal things. Yes, they are. For yourself, not for a guy, just for yourself. Yes, they are. I should live in a society where I could make enough money to have food prepared for me. That's insanity. Women want to live in an automated society where everything is provided. Housing is provided, food is provided, clothing is provided, everything, healthcare is provided. Okay? Nothing. They basically have to work for nothing. Nothing whatsoever. If they choose to work, that's a bonus and that gives them additional spending money. But they should have spending money. So they should be given a livable income. This is a crazy way that things are now when it comes to the way that women view society. They believe that everything that they need should be provided by society, including money. So they should be given a livable income on top of having all of their needs met to sustain life. And they believe that in a developed society, that's what should be given. You should not have to work in a developed society. This makes literally no sense. Now, just to be clear, though, this did happen once before. This happened with the Roman Empire. All right? At the height of the Roman Empire, the average Roman citizen did not have to work. All right? They would be given free food, free housing, free health care. The average Roman citizen did not have to work. And we see because the Roman Empire was so prosperous. Right? Now keep in mind the Roman Empire also did they did also use the people who were not compensated for their labor and were owned by others. So that is also one of the reasons why they were able to do this. Right? But the Roman Empire was so prosperous that the average Roman citizen did not have to work. And that was the beginning of the end, because what that ultimately led to was a society of such perceived abundance that women's rights began to expand. Guys, no fault divorce became a thing. Women began divorcing their husbands and running off with gladiators. And men began withdrawing from society and refusing to marry. And before too long, the politicians were furious at the men, blaming the men for not, for the state of Rome beginning to, go downhill because they were not marrying. Fast forward like 100 years later, Rome no longer has a military and has entirely mercenaries fighting for them with no money. And the mercenaries go, okay, so you guys are completely broke. You don't have any money to pay us. You're trying to pay us in land. We're just going to pillage the entire empire. The mercenaries pillage the empire. The Roman Empire falls. The Roman Empire, you have to understand, expanded over most of Europe. And when the Roman Empire fell, it plunged the world into 1,000 years of darkness, known as the Dark Ages. And there are some people who try to act like the Dark Ages weren't really as dark as they were made out to be. No, have no doubt, the Dark Ages were a very dark period in history. And it literally upsets me when I hear people saying on YouTube that the Dark Ages weren't really that dark. These people are frightening. Absolutely frightening. You would not want to live in the Dark Ages. Sanitation was practically unheard of. Math, science, even basic reading skills were lost during the Dark Ages. They bas- they basically saw math and science as something bad, like dark magic, and it was almost outlawed. Math and science was literally rediscovered by, I believe, like men in a by like men in a in a monastery, something like that. It's insane. It's insane. Like monks in a monastery rediscovered math and science. Like and then basically, and then from there it began spreading to, reemerging in Europe. We literally lost all of that. Guys, if it wasn't for the Dark Ages, we would be 1,000 years ahead of where we are now. In fact, we might actually be further, because if you notice, we're moving faster in terms of our technological development, our rate of development. We're going faster than we were hundreds of years ago. So, for example, the advances we've made in the last year, if you compare those to the advancements that we made, you know, in centuries prior to the 20th century, then you quickly realize that no, we're advancing at maybe two or three times, or two or three times the speed, or more than that, the speed at which we were advancing centuries ago. And it's insane. So when you consider that, we could literally, if it wasn't for the Dark Ages, tech wise, we would possibly be maybe a few thousand years ahead of where we are today, based on the speed of advancement that we're advancing at right now. And if we had reached that point much sooner, we were robbed. And a lot of that is because of the actions of women in society and the Sims that facilitated this, the downfall of humanity. That's why I've titled it Women Are Failing at Life as Men Avoid Them, because that's what happens when men walk away and say we're done. Countries fall. Countries completely collapse. That's the reason why whenever there's a major conflict that breaks out in a country, all right, they basically say that the men cannot leave. 18 and older, you are barred from leaving the country. They let the women flee, but the men are forced to stay, because if the men flee, you no longer have a country, you have a wasteland. The men are the resource, the men are the prize. But they don't want you to know that. They treat you like you're disposable. Nothing lasts forever. You know? The saying goes, women come into this life rich and they leave this life poor, while men come into this life poor and they leave this life rich. And it really holds true. It absolutely does. And the crazy thing about it is that as men, we are conditioned to be empathetic towards women, but women are essentially conditioned by society to have zero empathy for men and to be self-indulgent and self-focused entirely. Women don't know how to care about men or relate to men in any way whatsoever. We are taught from we are children as men how to relate to women and to care about their feelings. Women are not taught these things. All right? Girls are taught about male nature by their fathers, but boys are not taught about female nature by their mothers because their mothers would never want them to know that they've done these same things to their fathers. Because if there's one thing that separates men and women, it's the truth. Most men value the truth, while most women cannot handle the truth. What are your thoughts on this? Women are failing at life as men avoid them. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments. So let's go ahead and talk about them there. You know what I think, but I want to hear what you guys think. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away. And cheers.